Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Amplify Your Business. Today, we're going to talk about the intersection of yoga and finance. It's all about being prosperous. And today, I have Janet Key joining me today. She is a soulful money coach with her business, Prosperous Woman Coaching. Welcome to the show, Janet.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Okay, so right off the top, I have to tackle the title that you have. So, Soulful Money Coach. What does that even mean?
Soulful money coach. Well, first I have to say prosperous woman coaching. A prosperous woman is a woman who is growing, expanding in alignment with her highest potential. So, for me, it's soul potential, and having a yoga background and a financial background, it was a blending of the two. So my work with money is on a deeper level, on that mindset, but also into the subconscious beliefs, so that we can actually come into alignment and create from that space.
Yeah. And so I think that this is just such a timely topic because as we're emerging out of COVID, there has been a couple of years of people, especially at the beginning of COVID, being really, really scared and really kind of retreating into themselves and really going to a place of scarcity and fear. And I know you started your business right around that time, like in the early days of COVID. And so I'm just really curious about what motivated you to start it at that point. Why was that the time? And then also have you talk a little bit about, the type of work that you do that has been able to help people leave behind that scarcity mindset and really embrace abundance.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was motivated by intuition, honestly. It was my internal guidance that just led me forward. And as I leaned into the trust of that, it just opened up the every step that I made moving forward in listening to my intuition, which is my inner knowingness. And I felt energetically responses in my body. As I leaned into it, just more opportunities and more possibilities opened up. And when the world went into fear, I really went inward and went deeper within myself. And there's the opposite of fear, which is love. And love is like at the core of who we are, one of the highest expressions of ourselves that we could reach. And the key to happiness that I was given many years ago was to live your truth. And so to be in alignment with our truth is being connected to that center, that place of love. And in yoga, the heart is the bridge between the lower chakras and the higher chakras. The heart we give unconditionally, we receive unconditionally. And when it comes to fears, unconscious fears or patterns that want to hold us back, that blocks us from the fullest expression of ourselves. So I was led to go deeper into that process so that I can work with archetypes to help people to understand their money personality, to really be able to ground in who they are. And there's so much in the yoga connection, as well as the money connection, in understanding who we are.
Yeah. And so when you're working with people about that, where do you start then that journey for them or with them?
Yeah, I start with where they are, and it all depends on the person. If they need help in their physical money management, I start there. A lot of the times, like I have people that come to me that want to go deeper, and they're ready to come. They have a little understanding of energy, right? Maybe they've done some healing work. They're happy with where they are in their life, but they're not happy in their money relationship. And, those were things that I had recognized too, because I was happy in life, in my relationships, but in money, of course, when you're doing this work, I'm doing work within myself as well. And for me, I noticed a common theme that had played out in my life. So this is where people will come to me and they have that similar thing. And my theme was not enough. And when I looked at my money relationship, I had those anxieties. And even though I had a pension and I had savings and no debt, I still felt like there was never enough. And I judged my own success by the balance that was in my bank account. I was striving, I was overworking. I felt guilt around money, even in my own marriage, by not being an equal contributor in that relationship. So in our energy bodies, those emotions of guilt and shame can really impact us. So when people come to work with me, if they're ready to go to that deeper level, that's always my favorite, right? Is moving beyond the physical, but that's important too. But going deeper into our emotions to be able to free ourselves from the past mistakes, the past experiences that we might have had around money, whether it's I've been through divorce, people who's been through bankruptcy, or they've had deeper shames and they're like, oh, there's something holding me back, and they want to go deeper. It's like, what is it that's preventing me from moving forward? So people come having that understanding of energy, that everything is energy, but I don't really know the energy of money and I'm curious. Tell me more.
So, yeah, so I think our listeners would probably be very interested in hear you speak a little bit more about the energy of money, because this is a concept that I think would be probably fairly new to a lot of people. I myself actually kind of tackled this a little over, well, it's closer to 3 years ago, probably now, in which I was really trying to sort through that exact aspect and really approaching things from a place of abundance as opposed to scarcity. And I started to realize that, just the way that I thought about money was extremely constraining. And it was really freeing to understand how it has energy. And so, yeah, I'd love to hear your take on that and how you explain that to people.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? Money is nothing without us. It's coin, it's paper. It is our thoughts about it. Our thoughts are our feelings. Our feelings are our emotions. Our emotions is our energy, right? What we give out, we receive. So when it comes to money, how do we feel about it? And when there is the shame and the fear and the guilt, we are constricted, right? We are creating from that place of lack when we're overworking or striving. When we, in order to get connected to positive emotions around money, we got to look at these fears, what's showing up, and to be able to move through it so that we shift our energy, not just in our mindset, but in our body. And oftentimes when there are emotions of shame and blame, it's usually from a past experience, or there's the unconscious fears, like I'm seeking approval from someone, or I'm compulsively spending, I'm keeping money secrets. There's a number of, let's say, shadow aspects of our money relationship. And you're right, Lance, a lot of people don't realize they have a relationship with money. When I compared my relationship with money to my relationship with my partner back then, my relationship with my partner was healthy. It was open. There was open communication. In my relationship with money, there wasn't. There was that anxiety. I didn't trust it to be there for me. So it made me go deeper and see the fears of it. So money, seeing that it is nothing, we're striving for it in life, right? We're creating our physical net worth. We're growing our assets. And that's important part of our physical lives. We want money in our lives. But at the same time, when we don't know our enlightened net worth, who we are, we're not confident in who we are. We hold back when we have money conversations, or we're afraid to talk about pricing in our business. We're afraid to invest in ourselves because maybe we're too frugal or something like that. Then we're holding ourselves back and we're holding our energy back. So money as a relationship can really teach us about how free we really are when it comes to our emotions. So it's like our emotions around money can teach us how free we really are. So knowing our self-worth, our value, having confidence, self-esteem, that totally changes our energy and our relationship with money when we treat it that way.
Yeah. Like from my childhood, this is what I was really struggling with, is that my grandparents, I was really, really close to them. I grew up, right adjacent to them, living on a farm community. We were side by side on the farm, essentially our houses. And so I spent a lot of time, being raised by them. And they were, people who grew up in the in the 30s and the 40s, right? And so everything was extremely scarce, and there was this huge scarcity mindset, frugalness, where they just held on to every dime, and there was this worry always about spending too much, and so it became part of who I was. It kind of defined who I was. It was something that was a super proud statement around being frugal and good with my money. And what that meant, though, was holding on tightly to it. And so I would imagine there's a lot of people that can kind of relate, because there's a lot of language that we use, with my son. As I was raising him, you start talking about money as this a scarce object, right? Oftentimes when you're trying to get your children to not be, spend happy and so on. And so you just analyzing the language. It's just really amazing how we really do create that. And it becomes just a big belief system that I think is extremely limiting. How do you get people to bust out of that then when you're first working with them? I mean, you work with them to understand, I suppose, their relationship with money, but then how do you go beyond that and get them to kind of heal some of those past, I guess, lessons or traits that they have, or their patterns that they have with money?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's our money blueprint, right? And we are imprinted all the time with those experiences. What did we see? What did we learn? What was our experiences? So for me, in working with archetypes, first it's understanding what's your unique money personality. There's 8 different archetypes. There's a ruler, a maverick archetype. There's a romantic and a celebrity. So there's a lot of different qualities within each of them. Taking the personality quiz helps to identify what's your unique strengths, what's your gifts, but also what's the challenges, what's the shadow aspects of yourself. And I like to say the shadow aspects is like, here's the positive, here's the negative, here's the spirit, here's the ego side of self. In understanding your blueprint, from there, we go through the next stage of here's important areas of your life. So to look at insights into, here's your personal life. So your time, your money, your relationships, your health and well-being, your purpose and your future. Over into the business area, it's perhaps still the time and money, the finances, still there will be a more focus of team and support, relationship visibility, sales, marketing, pricing, packaging. We look at those areas in life based on your archetypal qualities. What is it that you want, and what is it that's holding you back, so that you can identify what is that gap so that you can move through it. Every session is all about alignment. So then the next we go into, here's your money compass. Internally, we want to identify what are those unconscious beliefs, what are those unconscious patterns. And I take them through a process where they get to see and experience their relationship with money on a deeper level. And then we take that and we bring it into alignment with what they want to create. And then we just keep going forward from there, going deeper, identifying even deeper fears that show up in like blind spots in every day of our lives. What are the blind spots that are showing up, so that they could see it? They could see the underlying fear. Once you see the fear, it's no longer unconscious, right? You're bringing light into that dark side of self, and now you can really grow. We keep moving through that process. It's a moving from the mind to the heart, really getting connected to the heart center, what it is that they want to create. And from there, they have the tools and the solutions to move into alignment. And alignment is alignment within yourself, so that you're connected to your self-esteem, your heart center, and you're able to give and yes, receive when you are in alignment. And it's a process that, if you keep working in that process, it absolutely expands your world on greater levels. And I know, because I've worked with many women on that level so far, some men, and I know what it has done for me, and I've witnessed that change in women. So that's the process. It's all about alignment, being in integrity, the actions, how I use my energy in all areas of my life, letting go of all of the noise and coming to the truth of who you are and how you are managing and operating you.
That's fascinating. And I absolutely love the work that you're doing. And it's got to be such a powerful experience for the people that you're coaching. And so let's talk about your business then. So Prosperous Woman Coaching, you're out in Creston. Is this something that you're doing exclusively in person, or are you doing a lot of this online then as well, helping people across the country?
I have been online for the last couple of years. So I have worked with women all over. I do hope, as we move forward, doing seminars live in corporate and business settings. I'll have a book that's going to be coming out here real soon, growing as a keynote speaker. So I do want to travel and get out into the world. I feel very inspired. Inspired is in spirit. And I feel like this is my purpose, just to get out and talk and bring people home, like home to themselves.
Yeah. So then I think you had mentioned that this is your first business venture. You started it kind of at the beginning of COVID. You said that there was a calling to you basically to do it essentially, right? And so you turned inward and created then the business from that. And you have a background as a yogi as well as working in the financial industry then, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the collision of those two worlds have really then prepared you for this really unique type of coaching. Because I don't hear of this. I'm sure there's others in your space, but it seems like it's a pretty unique space that you found here in the business world.
Yeah, it truly is. And yoga is about being in alignment, the mind, the body, and the soul connection. And in our yogi bodies, we have chakras, which are our energy centers, and our root chakra that's at the base of our spine. And that is being grounded in who we are, being secure, knowing that I am enough. And Lance, we live in a world that feeds that not enoughness, like in everything, right? So a lot of people, there's so much noise out there and there's so much overwhelm that we're not grounded in who we are. And this is being grounded in who you are and I am enough. You can create from that place, and moving up through the other chakras. It's about being in alignment. And when it comes to the money relationship, it's just a perfect combination because money has so much to teach us, right?
So now that you started your business and it's on the top of abundance. And so you started it though in a really interesting time because we are all in this lockdown. And so I'm really curious if you could share some lessons that you've learned over the last couple of years of being in business through this period of time. So from start to now, has everything been really smooth sailing for you, or have there been some challenges along the way?
Oh, goodness, no. Of course, there has been challenges along the way. Um, for me, some of the challenges that had been along the way, and I'm a ruler archetype. So I'm here to build an empire where everyone thrives. And I have a high desire to achieve success. I was also driven to overwork. And especially like I love what I was doing. So I really delved in and gave it all of my attention at the sacrifice of some relationships that were in my life. So moving from a place of striving to creating leadership and prosperity from a place of grace and ease was something that I had to move towards and be aware of relationships in my life, because relationships I value. So I really had to find some balance with that. Some other areas, being a maverick archetype. So this is a maverick is they're willing to take the risk. At the same time, balance it with financial security. So I knew how to manage my numbers. I lived in that world in the physical moment, but when I entered into my business and I was like driven by purpose and passion, I invested everything that I had when it comes to credit facilities. So I did not pay attention to the numbers. And now my accountant says that's totally normal. People do that in their first year of business. But paying attention to the numbers and handling financial complexities is something that I thrive on. I love that. But I didn't do that in my own business. I did things, spending money. I invested in so many training courses, so many leadership courses that I was overwhelmed. I'm looking for somebody give me the answers. Over time, though, in the work that I was doing, it helped me to see what those patterns were, what the self-sabotaging behaviors were, what the challenges were. And it enabled me to refine my own self and how I use my own energy. And there were so many wonderful lessons, and there's so many opportunities in the mistakes and in the failures for growth. And I just kept going and refining. And I kept moving forward, and I actually was offered banking positions along the way to go back, and I sat with it because how many entrepreneurs face that moment of retreating
Uh,
back to a job, right? Because that's like,
yeah,
that's the familiar, that's the security, that's the safety. And
yeah,
um, I sat in that for a couple of weeks, and I'm like, I'm being presented this opportunity. Like, is this for me? Do you want me to go there? And I just sat within myself and really listened and went within, and it said, no, like, stay the course. You're on track. And I approved of me. I really listened to my intuition and stayed the course. And of course, I had to let go of some of my wants and some of my expectations, and I had to manage things differently. However, it taught me so many things along the way and enabled me to build a solid foundation underneath me. And as I connected to that inner abundance within me, that really changed in my outer world. So my foundation changed where I was creating from in business, right? But I had a lot of those lessons along the way that was beautiful lessons, right?
yeah. So self-doubt, I'd love to dig into that just a little bit because you're right. I mean, every entrepreneur that hits them at some point and usually multiple times, right? And so, any advice given how you worked through it yourself that you could share with our listeners so that they might be able to work through that as well in a different way than what they maybe have the tools for right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember years ago, Lance, sitting on I lived in my dream home on an acreage. My horses were in front of me, and my life was not always prosperous like that. I had a lot of my dreams come true in my life, and I'm sitting there, and internally, I still had a lot of self-doubt. Still had a lot of questioning within myself. And I just sat there and I looked around and I said, Janet, look at what you created. Look at where you came from in your life. And here you are. How can you still be doubting? And in that moment, I just decided, that's it. I'm not doubt. Like, that's it. I'm going to trust, and I'm going to lean into that trust, which is a strength. And when I did that, something shifted within me, and, trusting our intuition. And you maybe recall times when you received an intuitive hit and you did not listen, right? And how did that feel? When you listen to yourself and you move forward, you feel more empowered. So I just kept, I learned to make decisions that were more empowering. And I listened to when I felt disempowered, right? Oftentimes we say yes when we really want to say no. And I feel disempowered. I feel vulnerable. So here's a lesson in, am I being in a place of integrity? If I'm in a place of integrity, this feels right for me, and I feel empowered, and I move forward in joy and strength. I move forward in that place of trust, knowing when I'm feeling disempowered. So when am I in the place of blame? When am I feeling shame or doubt or questioning? Looking at that and moving through it, lean into your strengths, learn from when you make mistakes where you feel disempowered, forgive it, understand it, move forward. The more you empower yourself, the more you grow into that, the more that you expand. And it's not from a fake place, it's from a place of, I am enough. And so decide, when you're in that place of fear, choose to lean into your strengths, your trust. And as you open up to trust, you begin to open internally to receive more abundance, more prosperity, more magic, more synchronicities that begin to happen in life, and the opportunities, and they, you probably heard the saying, we live in an infinite universe.
Mm.
And there's so much abundance. And when you really connect that inwardly, you just open up and you open up. So trust yourself, listen to your gut instincts, your inner feelings, and allow that to move you forward.
I'm curious about your decision to what I presume to be is focused on women because prosperous woman coaching. I presume that you kind of have crossed out all the men, and so in that situation, is there a reason why you thought that that was the direction you wanted to go as opposed to helping all people with prosperous coaching?
Yeah. I have worked with some men, and I would love the opportunity to work with more men. It's just, who are you focusing on in the marketplace? And
Yeah.
after I divorced, that was in 12 years ago, I had been a stay-at-home mom for many years. I had left that marriage with absolutely nothing and completely starting over at the age of 37. And financial freedom was one of those desires that I wanted to achieve in life. And of course, along my path, I went and found that. So for me, I was inspired to work with women because I was that woman who I wanted that financial freedom. And I have had the opportunity to work with men. And I always say I will work with men. It's the emotional part sometimes for men is a little bit not always comfortable, right? But again, that's paradigms too. Like, men don't cry, and that's not true. Like, that's not true. Men have emotions too. And that's just the intuitively prosperous woman is what was given to me. And I went with that.
Yeah. Okay. That totally makes sense from where you were at, for sure.
Yeah.
I was just curious if it was a business decision. And so a lot of challenges that businesses have is really identifying their ideal customer, right? The
Mhm.
person who they're going to help and serve. And so it sounds like you looked within and said, more, I needed this, and therefore I can offer this now that I'm in a different place, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. Okay, so in terms of your business, then I'm really curious. You've been at it now for a couple of years. What do you think is going to be the biggest challenge or hurdle over the next, 6, 12, 24 months? And how are you going to overcome that, do you think?
Mm. Well, I've been really refining things over the last couple years. I actually last year in May, so I'm coming up to a year. I was married for 12 years in a relationship that I was extremely happy in, and a lot of the work that I did made my husband really uncomfortable.
Hmm.
It made him really uncomfortable. And we arrived at a place where he's like, "You're exactly where you need to be, but I'm not meant to be on that path with you." And we separated. I felt that everything was happening for a higher reason. And I moved forward, creating a foundation of where I am. I allowed myself lots of time to grieve. And then I allowed myself time to, all right, in my business, where do I need to make some aligning? In my website, in how I'm communicating. I knew my book was coming out. So I've really been refining, and I'm in that process of preparing. And for me, what do I see moving forward? I'm excited about what is coming, challenges, and I'll face them as they come along the way. I feel like I have the tools, I have the strategies to move through and face them. I'm really in a place of alignment and empowerment within myself and feel connected to my purpose and my mission here to serve. And I move from a place of, my book is really vulnerable about a journey of moving from fear to love in life. And it's a lot of my dark experience in life to get to where that I am. And when I was asked, do you really want to share that? I'm like, it's not even about me anymore. Like, the work that I do is not about me. So I'm excited. I'm not sure if I foresee any. For me, it's like, let's go. And I know the opportunities, the right people, the connections will be made along the way. And I'm in that process, and I'm like, I'm ready.
That's exciting, right? To be in that position where it's just, yeah, you just let me loose. I'm going to tackle this, and I'm going to really grow this into something amazing. So that's really exciting. And so your book then, is it published? Is this something that people can access now, or?
Yeah, no, not yet.
Okay.
It's in its final editing process. Actually, it would have been ready maybe like 3 weeks ago. My writer, who I had helping me, her computer crashed. She lost absolutely everything. We were ready to do the final edit. It was going to go to publishing. So she started all over, but she's a creative genius. And she's in that process of bringing it all back together again. And so within the next couple of weeks, it should be ready to go to publishing. And within the next 4 months, like, I have an idea who I'm going with, and then I'll be in that process.
So, okay, so I'd like to probe into that just a touch, because this would be somewhat devastating for a lot of people, right? And I suspect that you probably looked at that as there was a reason for that happening, and you probably sat with that for a little bit, and what's going to come out of it will be slightly different than what you originally thought it was going to be. Am I on the right track there?
Yeah. Here's the thing about challenges, and when they show up in life, it's not, oh, it's not what's that saying? It's not what happens to us, it's what we do about what happens to us. And oh my goodness, Lance, I have been through so many experiences in life, and sometimes I think, am I desensitized? I don't feel that I'm desensitized. I just feel like I have the tools and the solutions to move through it. And my yoga, my meditation, my prayer, my journaling, like I have a daily practice that anchors me, and I have that faith, and that moves me through it. So when this happened, she was absolutely devastated. All I did was held space for her because she's the writer. I just gave her my story and she did the work, and I just knew that it would come together, and everything is happening, and it still gives me time. As I said, I'm in this process of refining some things. So it was totally okay. I held space for her. A couple of times she called me up and she's like, I need you to teach me a yoga practice, just to help her
Yeah.
kind of ground herself, because she's overwhelmed with everything, and she's got this creative mind, and she's a creative genius, and she is actually a woman from Zimbabwe. And
Oh.
her response when I asked her to write my book, we came together a few years ago. She said, "What is this white woman asking me to write a story for her?" And I was thinking the same thing, a woman of a different culture, a different background. And I'm like, but we come together to write this story. And, she experienced her own struggles with diversity and discrimination, and as a colored woman. And, we come together to tell this story. And even her writing my book, it created a deeper healing within her. And so I'm like, we have come together for a reason. And when she first started this journey, she wanted to be in the background. She wanted to be secret and not known. And now she's like, let's do this together. Let's talk about this together. Let's get this out. And it's really about bringing people together, moving them from fear to love, to center, to heart.
Yeah, I love it. That's all I got to say. Yeah, it's incredible. And I mean, you have so much purpose in what it is that you're doing. And so I wish you all the success that I'm sure that you're going to have as you continue on this journey. So Janet, tell me, if somebody is in need of some soulful money coaching, how would they best reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. My website is janetkey.com. So nice and simple. I have a prosperity discovery call link. You can book right there. There's an application process, so I can get to know you a little bit better and see where you need help and how you need help. And we move forward from there.
Awesome. Sounds great. Well, there you have it, everybody. If you need some inspiration, if you need to, reimagine the relationship that you have with money and really set yourself free to be as prosperous as you possibly can, reach out to Janet. She will definitely help guide you on that journey. And if you're interested in any of our past episodes of Amplify Your Business, head over to amplifyyourbusiness.ca. There you'll find our archive. And if you happen to be an entrepreneur with an interesting story, fill out the application form that's on that page, and you could be a future guest on Amplify Your Business. So thank you once again, Janet. I really appreciate you taking the time today to share your wisdom and your story with our audience.
My pleasure. Thank you, Lance.
Okay, well, everybody, have a prosperous week, and hopefully you'll be around for the next episode of Amplify Your Business.